pelge drolor zambeze Shabla solvade Om Aguru Vajradara Sumatimu Nishasane Uta Vardani Shri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimu Nishasane Uta Vardani Shri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimu Nishasane Uta Vardani Shri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumatimu Nishasa Uta Vardani Shri Badra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke kudan da gelu, pakyuke sundan da genga, pakyuke tukdan da geyi, tön yerme çıktı çingelu, makyuke kudan da gelu. Makyuke sundan da genga, makyuke tukdan da geyi, tön yerme çıktı çingelo. Om muni muni maha muni, shakya muni svo. Sangye chedan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gi drola pinchira sangye arasho sangye chedan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki Drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chodan tsogi chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi chinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupar sho. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Namo yalhaye keda ludan chinke drubundandami kenamdan ruwakunke dranam chitsampa tamche ketu dagi cheten tam. Buonasera.
Good evening.
Immaginiamo.
Let's imagine I have this image coming to my mind. Let's imagine as if that we are on a road. To me, there is the image of driving. I think the great part of you can drive and drives, but most of you have been in cars anyway, so the image works. And we're going along a certain way, and at a certain point there are some holes. Maybe there are some turns that when we do them, we don't take them very rightly. Maybe there is like, I remember like a turn that there is close to Abbagnano, and that is very difficult, and so when you do like a turn that has gone wrong, then and you go back there again, then you think about it twice. So what happens is that if I have a road and I go back on those similar places, could be like similar situations or also similar places where I go back to. One of the important things is that as we collect experiences for a lack of awareness or for a lack of knowledge, for whatever, we take the turning in a wrong way, whether too fast or too slow or whatever. We do it that we see that it's not right. So it comes to my mind like a person that wasn't used to driving and took my car and was driving with the snow, and as was going down, brake broke and ended up against a pole. What if, as we go on, we don't go back and see and look at the things that didn't go well and learn from them? It would be complex, wouldn't it? That would practically mean repeating always the same mistakes. And it makes no sense at all also to repeat the same mistake, to take the turn in the wrong way or the hole, or to brake suddenly with the snow and to say, look how much of a bad driver I am, and to keep doing that. Can find a sense, okay, I broke in that way and it worked well, and I should repeat it. In the other way it didn't go well, I shouldn't repeat it, so I should listen to what has been told to me. I make my own experience also, and in the ensemble I learn hopefully to drive always a bit better. Maybe. Okay, but also let's imagine that we can't never stop driving, and we are always driving, and we often also do the same, take the same road. So it's very important to be aware when we are driving badly, to avoid repeating those same things. So it's not about putting the label and give us points as a driver, I'm a good driver or I'm a bad driver. It's not about that. It's not a matter of identity, it's a matter of not spoiling the car, of helping who is in the car with us to feel safer, to not put our own life at risk. And life, more or less, is the same. Every day that we live, there are many things that repeat. Some things are cyclical within a day, others have like longer times, but situations kind of repeat during lifetime. I have a friend that says the only people that never make mistakes are those that don't do anything, because it's normal to make mistakes. To me, it has already happened to behave in a certain way, to do some things that it wasn't my intention to hurt the other person, but in my being unaware or not knowing and so on. I even if I wanted to do my best, sometimes I did things so that the other person got hurt. I think this has happened more or less to everyone. So we all make mistakes, and that's part of life. That's how we learn, and it's very important. The important thing, though, is that as I take the turn in a wrong way, then the next time I will be more careful. And to do that, I need to generate awareness. I need to observe and say, okay, here I did wrong, it's not, the fault is not of the ones that built the road. But if that turn would be wider, then it would have been right as I took it. Yes, that's also true, but that doesn't work like that. Oh, I got a fine for a speed, but if you were in Germany, and we can go on like this forever. And so it's important to understand that as we do something that doesn't bring optimal results, so to speak, in other words, when we do something stupid, and that happens in our way of talking, in our way of interacting with the other, sometimes maybe we are lacking knowledge, awareness, maybe we are too much taken with our own necessities and our own way of thinking, and we can't see the one that is next to us and we step on his shoes. But if I had seen your feet, then I wouldn't have stepped on them. Yes, but the point is that I didn't see them. It's a strange attitude that personally I never understood, and still today I don't. And that is, okay, I step on your shoes. I see that I hurt you. I didn't want to hurt you, and so I am also hurt. I become the victim. Well, look, I shouldn't have done that. How bad I am. And so somehow I feel guilty. I put myself in a position of having to suffer for what I did, and it's almost as if because I felt guilty, then it's kind of putting myself in a position that I won't do it again. It's a very strange dynamic. Because in my own logic, if I feel bad for something that I did, then it's a good reason to not repeat it. But then there is this strange thing when one says, "Oh, I felt so bad for what I did. I suffered so much for it, for the mistake that I did, that I've already paid the fine for it. I've already paid." So it doesn't take into account the fact that I should change the behavior. I don't know, but I often have the sense that this feeling of guilt that we put on ourselves somehow is blocking us from having a mature attitude of saying, okay, I was wrong, I admit it. What can I do to avoid it, to prevent it, to not repeat it? Because to make mistakes, in the sense to interact in a way that the results are not the ones that we wanted. This happens to everyone for many reasons. I can make a long personal list. Sometimes one is tired, maybe he's taken away by envy, anger, attachment, not knowing something from habits that one has, and often these interactions end up hurting ourselves and others. It happens. There is nothing wrong with that. There is no one that I know that has never made mistakes. This brings me to two things. One, the story of the watermelon in the toilet. Some of you already knows of this. Once I came back from a journey, I think I went in India, I don't remember actually, but it was like a long trip. And so I come back home in Bagnano, I come home, and there was only one person in the house. Usually there are many people in the house. And during the week there was only one person. And so, hi, hello, good morning. And I go to the toilet. You know, you come back from a trip and you go to the toilet. I flush the water and everything comes out. I call the plumber. Luckily I had a plumber friend, because it was a Saturday and these kind of things always happen on weekends. And so I called the plumber, and he was close by, and he says, "Okay, I come." And he comes like a little later, and he just disassembles the toilet, and he finds in the tube two pieces of watermelon, all kind of eaten, and also quite fresh. And he looks at me and he says, "What have you done?" I say, "Me? I just came back from a journey." And he says, "This is what everyone says. It's never no one's fault. If you would know what I've already found in toilets, also from people that live on their own, and it wasn't their fault still." And so, because I was curious, I go to to the other person that was in the house. "But you, have you eaten some watermelon?" "No, me never seen any watermelon." Was was there someone that came here these days? "No, no, no, no one." And so we never understood where that watermelon came from. One of the most beautiful things for me is when we make a mistake and we have that maturity to be able to admit it
senza dover incolparci.
without having to blame ourselves. Just saying, yes, what I did was not right. How can I fix it? I come and clean. What can I do? And there was once, many years ago, when I was living in India, where one of my masters, Galakpala, and there was also one of my teachers, which was his disciple. One day, I actually don't remember the details of what happened, but the fact is that I said something to Galapala without realizing it. I created a conflict between him and his disciple. And when they told me, I realized, okay, yes, that was stupid. I really didn't realize there was no intention, but the fact is that Galakpala got angry with the other disciple, that was one of my teachers, and created like a difficult situation, nothing too serious, but not nice. And so I realized about this, and I said, okay, look what I've done. So a little while later, the teacher comes to me to speak quite, he was quite angry. And he said, what have you done? Why have you done this? And I remember almost a strategy that I had was when he came to speak, I said, I was wrong. I said this and that and this and that. I created this and that problem. I did this something stupid. I realized it, and it was not in my intention to do this and that. But the point is that it was there, and I'm really sorry. What can I do to prevent this problem? I go speak with our master. How can I help to fix it? And I remember energetically also that in the moment that he came to me, he was very angry, and it was as if he wanted to hit me. Because how did you? Why did you do this? And in the moment that I admitted openly my mistake, and I put myself without getting into the defense and justifying, and I put myself in a proactive position, like, okay, how can I solve the problem? He kind of melted. It's as if his anger didn't find nowhere to kind of get into. And so I said, okay, no, don't worry, I will speak to him. And for me, it was a very good example, okay, that when we do something that didn't go very well, and at the same time this has to do with also other people, if we admit openly that and we don't put ourselves on the defense, but in a proactive way of kind of put ourselves at the disposal to help, that already, to admit what we have done and to not be on the defense, already does a lot. Stops that process of other conflicts that can grow after that. And for me, it's something really beautiful when someone has that capacity of just saying, oh, yes, I was wrong. I embrace the responsibility of that without having to justify anything. Because the classical thing is that, but look, that this shouldn't have gone this way. But no, it's because, I don't want to know the why. It shouldn't have been like that. That's what I'm saying. I don't need to know the whole story of the why and how. Like, you did in a way that was not how it was supposed to be. Just fix it. That's the whole story. But no, we get into the dynamic of having to justify and explain and put ourselves in defense, victimize ourselves, and all of this wastes a lot of energy. But more than with the others, it's with ourselves also. Because there is an attitude that is, when there is something wrong, we try to look for the guilty. And this is also something that I really have a hard time to understand. Why should we find, why finding the guilty improves the situation? I don't know, there was a crime, there was something that was not right. One thing is to assure that the person did that will not repeat the thing. And I completely agree on this. But the other thing is that, okay, I found the guilty and I go punish him. No, at that point I'm at peace. Does it work? According to me, no, it doesn't. But the interesting thing is that when there are some really big tensions, often it's important to find a person to give the blame to. It doesn't matter whether it was that person or not. Also, because, and here I open another discourse, whatever has happened to us, we will never be able to find the exact reason for why it has happened. We are here together. Why? Is there one single cause, or is there like an enormous quantity of things that have happened that made it so that we are here now? Many, right? I don't know. This building, we say that the beginning was like the horse stables from Garibaldi, and then for many years was like a building that wasn't kept very well. There was like a hotel around with prostitutes. There was syringes and preservatives around. Franco Ceccarelli, when he saw that there was this street that was kind of a bit degenerated, but also in the center of Milan, it was kind of cheap. He said, look, it's a good opportunity. That street won't stay like that for long. And so he came and invested, and he offered this building to make the center here. And for many years, when there was a center here, it was not like the most beautiful street. There were people selling drugs and prostitutes. Nothing against anyone. In summer there were like concerts, but it was a very different reality. What made it so that we are here today? Among the other things, that this place, there was that moment where this place wasn't like so well kept, and so that made it possible that we created the center here, and that today we have this place in Milan. We can spend the whole evening to tell the whole stories that make this moment possible. But like this, it's for anything in our lives. There isn't anything that you can go and pick the reason. But at the same time, you can say, if that thing wasn't there, then it wouldn't be like that. It's like an equation. All the numbers are necessary to get us to a certain result. But no number is the cause for that result. So when we have this attitude of trying to find the guilty, first of all, it doesn't exist. There is an infinity of things that get summed and make it so that one things go in a certain way or in another way. And this is not to remove the responsibility from anyone from their actions. I say something, I'm responsible for that. I do something physically, I'm also responsible for that. And I also believe that we are completely free to do whatever we want, but we're not free from the consequences of our actions. We live in a free country, right? But are we free from the consequences? If I drive at 200 kilometers and I get fined, I thought it was a free country. There are some rules on which there are some consequences, because in life, on every aspect, it's like that. But the point where I want to get to, very often, to feel good with ourselves, we try to find a reason, a guilty. And it's as if when we find the reason or the guilty, then we feel a bit better. But we feel a bit better with what? With a feeling that is very widespread. I don't even know what name to give to it, so I rather describe it. Let's imagine, we imagine how things should go, and this imagination is not like cognitive, linear. It's part, it involves also the cultural context in which we are, the information that we received. There is an ensemble of things through which we create an image of how things should be, and partly we also inherited that. And so I create an image, consciously or unconsciously, of how something should be. And when things happen inside of that idealized image, everything is alright. But the day that something goes out of how I believe that things should be, and then I ask why, who is wrong, who is the guilty, this shouldn't have been like that. And there we go and trying to find the reason why it wasn't like that, or the guilty. And so what often happens is that the guilty that we find is ourselves. I don't know if someone here has ever felt guilty. Let's do the question again. Is there anyone that has never felt guilty? In the last week? So to speak, it's something that it's really present in our own culture, right? But also because from childhood, also from the education and not only from the parents, but many levels, the finger is pointed at us, saying, "Okay, you're bad," and labels are put on us. I remember many times seeing parents with small kids. I don't know, maybe the kid was being a bit capricious. You're bad, you're mean. Poor kid, why? Because saying bad, it's something else. Anyway, there are these labels that then are really difficult to remove. They have like a super glue. They're really difficult to remove. And so what happens is that we somehow have grown up in this context where we go and judge the person, putting on labels, I'm this, I'm that, and so on. Inside of this, we go and say, I shouldn't be like that. Because also this goes with something else, that is the idealized image that we have of ourselves. I don't know if you've ever thought, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have been like that, I should have been in another way. With all that has been said to me, and look how not grateful I am. Because not only we have the idealized image that we created of ourselves, because we imagine ourselves in the future, and at a certain point the future becomes the present, and not necessarily we go and match what we imagined. But we have to bring on our shoulders also the idealized image that our parents projected on us, the husband, the wife, the children, at work, in every aspect of society, in every relationship. Very often images are projected on us, friends, whatever. And there is like a certain sort of struggle to try to sustain this idealized image that are imposed to us from ourselves and from the others, included also the cultural context in which we are, which is impossible. And so, when we can't sustain this mental idealized image that we have of ourselves, there is then this idea that we are wrong and that we shouldn't have been like that, because we relate with things, with situations, with places, with people, and also with ourselves through idealized images. Let's make any example. You go to the restaurant, you order something to eat, something different comes.
Qual è il primo pensiero?
What is the first thought? It's not the right thing, or I understood in the wrong way?
Spesso?
Often, it's not what I ordered. I didn't order this. And you go to...
Okay. Io mi ricordo
I remember the first time that I had this example very clear was a period where I stayed a bit longer here in Milan. On the other side here there was like a supermarket, and there were like the points of the supermarket. And at a certain point I see the catalog of the prices. There was like a tool there, and I say, this is nice, this I like it. And I go there one day with the points finally, and I take the screwdriver, and I get home with the screwdriver, and I open it, and it really had nothing to do with what I was imagining. From my idea, I thought it was like an electrical screwdriver, but no, it was totally manual. And I say, how? And I was like a bit like, they tricked me. And I go see again the magazine with the points, and it was just matching completely. And so I projected something incoherently, but the first reaction is that I got tricked, that was wrong, not that I projected in a wrong way. Then there are the other situations when one really feels tricked. I have a memory of this when I was really small, and I think I had like 3 or 4 years old. And I go to the supermarket with my mother, and I choose the cornflakes with strawberries. In the drawing there were like cornflakes, milk, and flour and strawberries. And I get home and I open the cornflakes, and I saw no strawberries. And I said, this is tricky advertisement. And I really felt as if I was getting tricked, that it was not right. They can't put the strawberries in drawings if there are no strawberries inside. But aside from these things to laugh a bit, what happens often is that, so, okay, one thing is when people try to trick us, and that also happens, but in the majority of cases, we project an image of how that thing should be, and at a certain point it's not. And today I wanted to focus this aspect mainly related to the image that we have of ourselves. Because when I say I shouldn't be like this is the basis of the sense of guilt that comes and leans on this attitude, kind of leans on the idealized image of how I should be. I should be a perfect being. I don't know where we got this from. Like family. These things shouldn't happen in family. Tell me one where they don't happen. I don't know, have you ever met a perfect family? Have you ever met a family where there are no conflicts, tensions, where everyone is always perfectly in harmony? Me, all the families that I've met up to today, yes, there are some qualities, there are some conflicts, but there are never like perfect families. But in our cultures, we have like an idealized image of the family, right? And here, we're getting close also to the Christmas disaster. Or am I wrong? You know, how many people that I know, I don't know, maybe it's the Buddhist environment. Ah, no, now it's Christmas time, what do I do? I don't know whether I'm going or not. If I speak, why should we act that we're all happy, and then for the other time of the year we can't look at each other's faces? But if one starts from the principle that, okay, the family is not perfect, and putting some human beings together and to have harmony means to have harmony across the mental defilements. So there is one that is envious, the other one is angry, and it's really a difficult thing to create harmony through everyone. And with this, I don't want to take away anything from family, which has some really important values, and I think it's very important to have moments where one can cultivate a relationship of affection, to be together. It becomes problematic when it's like once a year or twice and it's not nourished through the year. But what happens anyway is that the more we go and make stronger this idea that something should be in an idealized way, the more we will crash against it, and then we will try to find a guilty, whether it's myself or the other.
Io personalmente, scusate se lo metto in questi termini,
Personally, sorry if I put in these terms, the sense of guilt seems like a very stupid feeling, in the sense it's very right to recognize the behavior that it's not right, and we should have a good capacity of self-analysis and self-judgment, and to see what we do, what we don't do. This is fundamental, and that is what we started today from. If I take the turn in a wrong way, then I should learn that I should do it differently. But something else is the fact of not welcoming myself for what I am, but to stay in an idealized image of what I should have been. Because the more correct attitude from my point of view is to recognize that behavior that I have that is not right, I admit them, and I say, okay, I'm like this. Why? Because of the education, because of the experiences that I lived, because often there is someone says, yes, Lama, I'm like this, but you haven't met my father and this and that. And we are not here to point a finger, how bad or mean are you, why are you like that? We are here to say, let's go and see openly what are our own mistakes. Let's go and, yes, we generate an idealized image, but not of what I should be, but what I would want to be, and to walk to that, towards that. Because from the point that I have an idealized image, like for example, I have this dream, I still haven't got there completely, like partly I've got it. My dream is to be able to be in harmony, at peace with myself and the others, independently from where I am, from with who I am, or the situation that I'm in. This is my goal, my dream, in this sense, what I want. Is this an idealized image? Yes, also. But I walk towards that direction. This is what I would want to be. But that's not what I should be. Is the difference clear? I don't impose myself the way that I should already be like that. I give myself the direction of that, and I walk to that. And so, one of the starting points to overcome this sense of guilt is first of all to welcome ourselves and to remove the weight of what we should be. We shouldn't be anything. But shouldn't I be more grateful? No. Shouldn't I be more gentle? No. Yes, it would be very good. It would do very good to you, but should you be like that? No. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, that someone comes to you, but you shouldn't be like that. When it happened to me, my answer was not always very verbalized. I'm sorry, but if I am, it's because I can. Why am I like this? Because I'm the result of the experiences of previous lives, of the DNA with which I'm born, of the context, the cultural context in which I've grown up, the social context in which I've grown up, the information that I received, the experiences that I lived, and everything that comes with it. All of it brought me here today to do this, to be in this way. And it's a bit similar to that when we say, okay, to put in someone else's shoes. But it's very easy to say your shoes are comfortable. It's not true that they are tight because I have smaller feet. So I put myself in your shoes with my feet. No, I should try your shoes with your feet. At that point I can say something. I should try your clothes with your body. It's useless to say I put myself in your shoes, but I fit nicely. Like last weekend that I did some teachings in the Netherlands, and one of the people, the two persons that were hosting me in their house, one of them was like 2 meters and 3, and it was full of scars in the head because he constantly bangs the head everywhere. And those clothes for me are really big. And no, this is diet. No, it's not. I put myself in your shoes. No, that's not true. Put myself in your shoes with your body, with your feet, being you. And when we really do the exercise of putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, but with the karma of the other, the mentality of the other, the trauma of the other, the body of the other, the culture, and all the rest that is, being the other, what we will do wouldn't be very different from what the other does. Something maybe, but little.
Perciò
And so,
è quell'esempio di cui abbiamo parlato tante volte, no?
it's that example of which we have talked about many times, of the perfection that it's in the present moment.
Riprendiamo una volta ancora. Immagina una foglia che cade da un albero.
Imagine like a leaf falling from a tree. That tree falls in a certain place.
E noi ci chiediamo,
And we ask ourselves, why has it fallen in that really specific point?
è aleatoria
Is it random?
o è un risultato
Or is it
perfetto
a perfect result
dell'interazione,
of the
del
interaction
vento,
of the
della
wind
pressione
and
atmosferica quel
atmospherical
giorno, quindi il
pressure,
vento, la
the
temperatura,
the
l'insetto che
temperature,
mangiucchiava la
the
foglia in
bug
quel
that was
momento, il
like
bambino che
eating
giocava
the
a
leaf in
pallone
the
che era
moment,
picchiato sull'albero,
the
e
kid that
tutte le
banged
altre cose, la macchina
the
che è
ball
passata
against the
prima,
tree,
e
the
tutte le
car
cose che
that
hanno fatto
passed
in
by
modo che la
before,
foglia cadesse.
everything that made it so that the leaf fell just there.
Quindi dove cade la foglia? È
So where
aleatorio
does the
o
fall,
perfetto?
the leaf fall? Is it random or perfect?
Perfetto non inteso che è un posto
Perfect not
migliore
in the
per
sense
me,
that it's in the
perché come ho detto diverse volte, quando le
best
foglie
place for
cadono
me,
nel canale
because
di
man,
gronda del Tempio non mi piacciono.
I've said many times,
Ok? Però ogni foglia cade lì dove?
every leaf
Secondo tutte le
falls
cause e condizioni che ci sono,
just where, according
poteva
to
cadere.
causes and
Non
conditions,
c'erano tante
that
alternative.
leaf could fall. There
Qualcuno
were
dice
not
sì, ma
many
ci fosse
alternatives.
meno vento?
Yes, but if there would
Ovviamente.
be less wind, yes, obviously.
Fatto sta che c'era quello.
Fact is that
Ok?
there was that wind.
Perciò cerchiamo
And
di
so
immaginare la
let's try
foglia
to
che cade
imagine the
e
leaf falling
permettiamoci a
and
noi
to
stessi
allow
di
ourselves
osservare quello, dire
to
ok, la foglia
observe
cade nel
that
luogo
and to say,
perfetto.
okay, the leaf falls in the
È come
perfect place.
un'equazione
It's like an
che il
equation,
risultato è preciso.
and the result is precise.
Possiamo rifare i conti
We
altre
can do
20.000
the
volte,
calculations
quando
like
sono fatti il
20,000
risultato sarà
times again, but the result will
il
still be
momento
the same.
presente,
So the present
quello che stiamo
moment, what we
vivendo,
are living,
è il risultato di
is the
una
result
complessissima
of a
equazione.
very complex equation.
Riusciamo a vedere che la foglia cade
Can
nel
we
posto
see
perfetto?
that the leaf falls in the perfect place also when we don't like it?
Adesso immaginiamo qualcuno,
Now, let's imagine
una
someone,
persona che
like
ci
a person
piace,
that we
ma
like,
l'esercizio
or
viene ancora
the
meglio pensando a
exercise,
qualcuno che ci
even
sta
it's even
antipatico.
better with someone that we don't like.
Ok? Che sia una persona che uno
Like
conosce
a person
direttamente
maybe
o un
that we know
personaggio pubblico che
directly, or
sconosciuto.
like a historical
Non credo che
figure.
sia così difficile trovare.
I don't think it's very hard to
Qualcuno
find.
troviamo.
We can find someone.
Pensiamo a quella persona.
Let's think about that person.
Mettiamola davanti lì facendo quella cosa che
Let's
non ci
put
piace.
that person in front of ourselves,
E ci
doing
chiediamo,
what we don't like.
quella
And let's
persona
ask
lì, in quel
ourselves,
momento,
that
è
person in that
aleatoria
moment,
o è
is it
perfetta?
random or is it perfect?
Lo so che è difficile dirlo.
I don't know if that this is difficult
È
to
faticoso.
say.
Non
It's
esce
difficult, it
facilmente.
doesn't come out very
Però è
easily. But
aleatoria.
is it random?
No, è perfetta.
No, it's perfect.
Ok? E questo non vuol dire che io
And this
voglio che
doesn't
quella
mean
persona
that
continui così.
I want that person to go on like
Vuol dire
that.
che quella
That
persona è
doesn't.
in quel modo
It
perché
means
tutte
that
le
that
cause,
person is like that
condizioni,
because
tutte le
all the
interazioni
causes
le
and
hanno
conditions
portato in
and all
quel
the
momento
interactions
a
made it
essere
so
così
that that person,
incluse le
it's
interazioni
like that,
interne. La
included also
persona non è
the
una vittima.
internal interaction. The person is not a
La
victim.
persona in quel momento è il
The person in
risultato
that
delle
moment
interazioni
is the
in cui,
result of the
tutte le cose con cui ha
interactions, of all
interagito
the things that
insieme, sommando
he or
sempre
she
una parte
interacted with,
fondamentale
but
di quello
also
che sono,
summing
che sono i
a
propri
fundamental
pensieri,
part that
le
are
proprie
the
scelte,
thoughts, our own that
che sono una
person, our
parte
own thoughts,
fondamentale di
the
quell'equazione.
choices
Ok?
that are a
Non sto
fundamental
dicendo che una
part of that
persona è una
equation. So I'm not
vittima
saying that the
perché
person is a
tutto
victim
ha
because
fatto in un modo che
everything
non
has
poteva
been a
che essere
certain
così.
way and
Esiste il libero arbitrio,
couldn't have been like that.
esiste la
There is
libertà.
free will.
Tutti noi possiamo dire
We
faccio, non
can
faccio,
all
vado,
say
non
I do,
vado,
don't do,
dico, non
go, don't
dico,
go,
dico questo, dico
say,
quello.
not
Abbiamo
say.
una
We all have
piccola,
this very
no?
little
Dire un piccolo spazio di libertà.
space of
Piccolo,
movement.
c'è.
It's small,
Perciò
but it's there. And
quello che
so
accade è
what happens
quando io vedo
is
l'altro
that
e
when I
riesco a
see
dire
the
sei
other
perfetto,
and I'm able to see you're
adesso
perfect,
guardiamo noi stessi
then let's look at
nel
ourselves
momento
in the
presente.
present moment.
Cerchiamo per un attimo
And let's
di
try for a moment
osservare
to
tutti i nostri vari
observe
aspetti,
all the aspects of ourselves, our own characteristics. Let's look at the physical characteristics, our own body, the aesthetic, the looks, the health, the strength, and so on. We can go on and look at the different aspects. Let's think about our own emotional state, about our own habits, about our own material state, economical state, and to the relationships that we have. Let's take all the different aspects of our lives as if we will do a sort of photography of our life with all the different shades. And let's try to ask ourselves, my life in the present moment, is it random or is it perfect? Am I perfect or not? And I'm not talking about myself, I'm speaking about all of us. And I know that it's even more difficult to say. Because to say that I'm perfect doesn't mean to kind of give up to what it's there. It means to not fight against the present or the future, but to direct myself with strength and determination towards the future that I want to create. Because I am like this, because facing all the choices that I took, the things that I said, the education that I received, everything that was there brought me to be like this. And so it's useless to say that I shouldn't be like this. I could say I am like this, but I would like to be different. Great. Let's walk towards that, because we have the freedom in our thoughts, words, in our choices, in every interaction. We can make huge changes. We can do really a lot. So this also means to welcome the present, to be at peace with the present and with the past, and to direct oneself with determination towards the future, to allow ourselves to dream. With a sense not only of responsibility but also of self-esteem, ideally. But let's try to put together saying, okay, I'm perfect, intended in this way, not like I'm the amazing being that hasn't anything wrong, but that in front of all the causes and conditions, choices and everything, I couldn't have been other than this. And let's try to put this together with a sense of guilt. Can they live together or not? It's difficult. Because if I realize that I have the sense of guilt, but I shouldn't, then the worst is that, okay, one already lives with a really strong sense of guilt and then becomes a Buddhist and enters the path. I shouldn't have the sense of guilt. Then you feel guilty for having the feeling of guilt. That's even worse.
A quel punto meglio avere il senso di colpa e essere felice per quello almeno, no? Invece no. Non dovrei averli, ma guarda come sono.
Ah, look how I am. And then you go and blame the others because the culture in which I've grown up into has taught me this. But when we see reality in a coherent way, it's pacifying. It has a beautiful power. This wisdom that also means coherence. I see things in a coherent way. I make a very complex equation, and I like to think that we all choose a number. One day we will do that practically, it will take some time, but what if everyone here chooses a number, and together with the number you choose whether you want to sum it, to subtract it, multiply it, divide it, and at the end of all of this we have a result. And we say that the result is the number 48. And I say, I don't like 48. Who's the guilty? What number have you chosen?
Ma no, io ho scelto
I chose the 12.
ma se tu avessi scelto il
Ah,
13 non
but if you
l'avremmo
had
mai
chosen the
Bene,
13, that
rifacciamo il
we
conto
wouldn't
tu
have the
13, vedi che hai risposto
48.
diverso, colpa tua.
That's your fault.
Scusi,
And
però
I say, but
se
look,
lei
if E
avesse scelto un numero
chose
diverso,
a different number,
ovviamente.
yes, obviously.
Quindi non c'è nessuno che
So
è il
there is
colpevole, ma allo stesso tempo non
not
c'è nessuno
the
che non sia
guilty,
il
but at the same time,
responsabile.
there is no one that is not the responsible.
Ogni piccola
Every
parte
small part of
dell'equazione
the
è
equation is
responsabile del
responsible of the
risultato,
result,
ma allo
but
stesso
at the same
tempo
time,
non c'è nessuna
there
parte
is
che
no
è
part
la parte
that
che va a
is the part
determinare il
that is
risultato, di cui dipende il risultato.
on which the result is
Perciò
strictly determined by.
la realtà, quando noi diciamo che in questo senso è
So
perfetta,
when we say
vedere
that
questa
reality in
coerenza,
this sense is perfect, we should see this coherence,
capire che le
and
cose
to see that
funzionano in
things
un
work
certo modo,
in a
che c'è
certain way and that there is an
un'interdipendenza,
interdependency.
che poi anche la parola
And
interdipendenza
also
non è
the
molto
word
giustissima, non è mai
interdependency
stata
is not
un
very
linguaggio
right, but here we go
filosofico,
into a
perché non è
philosophical
il
debate that
momento, ma il
it's not
termine più giusto
the
sarebbe quasi
moment.
quasi ancora di più
Maybe the more
mutua dipendenza o
correct term will
dipendenza
be
mutua,
mutual dependency,
perché il concetto, apro e
because
chiudo una parentesi,
I open and close
il
a
concetto di
parenthesis, because
interdipendenza molto spesso ci
the
basta
concept
dire
of
io ci
interdependency
sono,
eh,
ci sei,
kind of
ci incontriamo, siamo
implies, okay, I'm
interdipendenti,
here, you're there, we meet, we are
ci
interdependent.
scambiamo delle
We
cose
share
e
some
quindi siamo
things, and so
interdipendenti.
we are interdependent.
Questa è un po' l'idea,
This
no?
is more or
Essere
less
con
the
la
idea,
natura,
to be with
eccetera, eccetera.
nature, and
Siamo
we are
interdipendenti, tutti nella
interdependent. We
società
are all
siamo
in
tutti
society, we are
interdipendenti
all
perché ogni
interdependent
azione
because
che
every
compiamo va a
action that we do
interagire con gli
goes and
altri,
interact with the
eccetera, eccetera.
others, and so on.
È vero,
That's also true,
ma non finisce lì.
but it doesn't end there.
Il vero
The
termine,
real term
in tibetano si dice tendrel,
in
che
Tibetan
si
is
traduce come
tendrel, you
interdipendenza,
translate with
è
interdependency,
quasi più corretto tradurre
is
come
actually
dipendenza mutua.
maybe more
Mutua
right to
dipendenza.
translate with
Che
mutual
vuol dire?
dependency, which means
Non è che io ci
it's
sono,
not
tu
that
ci
I'm
sei
here
e noi
and
ci
you're there and
parliamo
we speak
o noi interagiamo.
or we interact.
Io esisto,
I
tu
exist, you
esisti, ma io
exist,
non
but
esisterei così
I
come
wouldn't
sono se non
exist
ci
like
fossi
this
te,
if
tu non
it wouldn't be
esisteresti
for
così
you, and
come
you
sei se non
wouldn't
ci fossi te.
exist like that if it wouldn't be for me.
È come il grande e il piccolo.
It's like the
Sono
big and the
mutuamente
small, they are
dipendenti.
mutually dependent.
Uno non esiste
One doesn't exist
senza
without
l'altro.
the other.
Così possiamo passare
And like
ore a
this,
fare
we can
esempi e
spend
discutere.
hours to make
Perciò,
examples and discuss
quando
about
noi
this.
vediamo che noi
And
viviamo in
so,
una
when
realtà
we see that we live in a
mutuamente
mutually
dipendente o
dependent
interdipendente, ci
reality
sono
or
diversi livelli,
interdependent,
in cui il primo
also there
livello
are
è il
many
livello
levels. Like the first
dell'interdipendenza
level is
grossolana di cause e
the gross
condizioni.
interdependence of causes and conditions.
Questo ci permette di osservare noi
This
stessi, di
allows
accoglierci.
ourselves to welcome ourselves.
Ma allo stesso
But at the
tempo,
same time,
riconoscendo il potere
recognizing the
che c'è in
power
ogni
that
piccola
it's
azione,
in every
perché la
little
cosa interessante
action.
è che il
Because the interesting
48
thing is that
dell'equazione
the
di prima
48 of the equation of
non posso tornare
before,
indietro
I can't go
e dire
back
colpa
and say,
tua,
no, it's your fault.
ma io in ogni momento
But
sto
me, in every
aggiungendo dei
moment, I am
numeri a quella
adding some
equazione.
numbers in that equation.
Quindi io posso
And
nella
so,
mia libertà
I can, in
scegliere
my
se voglio
freedom,
sommare o
whether I
sottrarre,
want to
e che numeri
choose
vado ad aggiungere. Io costantemente sto
to
creando
sum or
un'equazione del
subtract, and
futuro
constantly
lontano
I
e
am
futuro.
creating like an equation of the immediate future, of the
La sto
faraway
creando
future.
in ogni momento.
I am creating it in every moment.
Quindi quando io vedo
And
il
so,
potere che
when I
c'è in
see
ogni
the power
parte
that it's
dell'equazione,
in
io vedo
every
il
part of the
potere che
equation,
avviene
I
nelle mie
see
parole,
also the power in my
nelle mie
words, in
scelte,
my
nelle mie azioni, nei
choices,
miei
in
pensieri.
my thoughts.
È come se
It's as if
viene qualcuno oggi,
someone comes
se io
today,
vengo da voi oggi
and I
e
come to
comincio a
you
parlare
and I
male
start
di Devadatta.
talking badly about Devadatta.
Devadatta, guarda, è una persona bruttissima.
Devadatta is really bad person.
Nei testi buddisti quando si
In the
dice
Buddhist
conosci
texts,
Tizio,
it
Caio,
said
allora si
like
dice Devadatta.
um,
Devadatta era storicamente
when
un
it would say
cugino
like
del Buddha,
a
che era
dude,
molto
is like a
invidioso del
Devadatta,
Buddha,
which was a
che ha
cousin
cercato
of
di
Buddha,
ucciderlo
that was
5 volte. Questo
that
poi
tried
dice
to
tutta
kill him
la
like 5 times.
Poi a un certo punto si è fatto monaco,
And at a
ha
certain
creato
point,
divisioni nella comunità della
he became
Sangha,
a
ha
monk and he
fatto di
tried to
tutto.
create division
Ha
inside the
cercato di prendere
Sangha.
il posto del
He tried
Buddha.
to take the place of Buddha.
E per
Anyway,
qualche ragione,
and
ogni
for
volta
some
quando si fa
reason,
un esempio,
every time
molto
that you make an
spesso, quando si fa
example
l'esempio, usi il nome di qualcuno, si dice Devadatta.
with a number of someone, you
Ma
would
se io
say
vengo da voi e
Devadatta.
parlo malissimo di
So,
Devadatta,
what if I come to you and
posso
speak
anche dire,
badly
guarda, non è
about
per parlare
Devadatta?
male,
So it's not to speak
Però,
badly,
sai,
but
non ti puoi fidare
you
di quella
can't
persona.
really trust that person.
Devadatta è una brutta
Devadatta
persona,
is a
c'ha
bad
un
person,
brutto carattere,
has a bad
mi ha fatto
character,
questo, mi ha fatto
he,
quell'altro, una
he
persona
did this to
cattiva,
me and
eccetera,
that, it's
eccetera. Vi
a
dico
mean
quelle
person.
3-4 cose su
And then
Devadatta,
say
30 secondi
those
del
3 or
prologo, ok?
4 things, like 30 seconds.
Fra 20 anni conoscete Devadatta.
In 20 years you meet Devadatta.
Ci sarà un'influenza o no?
Will there be an influence or not?
O quei 30 secondi non
Or
valgono
those
nulla?
30 seconds don't count?
Valgono tanto.
Yes, they count
Vanno a
a lot.
determinare
They go and determine
se io mi fido o meno subito.
whether I trust.
Vado a determinare, vanno a
They can
influenzare
determine
fortemente
whether
se ho
I
fiducia in quello
I
che mi
have
viene detto o meno.
trust in what is being said to me or not.
Questi sono stati 30
And
secondi di parole che abbiamo
that
sentito.
was just like 30 seconds of words that we heard.
Ogni informazione che
Every
noi riceviamo
information that we
lavora.
receive works inside of us.
Ogni pensiero
Every
che abbiamo
thought
va a rinforzare gli altri
goes and
pensieri, va a
reinforces the other
direzionarli.
thoughts and goes and redirections
Per questo che noi in ogni
ourselves.
momento stiamo
And
costruendo
so,
il nostro futuro.
in every moment, we are building our future constantly.
Ed è qua che si trova la nostra
That's
vera
where
libertà.
we find our real freedom.
Perciò
And so,
accettare
to accept
chi siamo,
who we are,
che non vuol dire
that
subire.
doesn't mean like to
Subire io intendo come io sono così, non posso fare niente, rimango così. Come ogni tanto ho visto delle magliette che c'era
to
scritto in
suffer.
inglese, ma c'era scritto mi dovete
Sometimes I
accettare per
saw
quello che
some
sono.
shirts in English,
Mi
okay,
piace
like
qualcosa
you
di
should
diverso.
accept me the way I am.
La mia risposta, se qualcuno
My
viene,
answer
io ti devo
would be
accettare
like,
per quello che sei, ma tu no.
I have to accept you for what you are, but you shouldn't.
Cosa vuol dire?
What does this mean?
Accettare per
To
quello che
accept
sono,
oneself for
inteso
what
come io
that
sono così
person
e tanto
is.
sono così,
I am like
è
this,
stupido. È come per dire
I'm
faccio
like
la
this,
prendo la
and
curva
so
male, ogni volta taglio la gomma, tanto io guido così. Continuerò a cambiare le gomme una dopo l'altra e a fare incidenti uno dopo l'altro. È importante dire ok,
so it's important to say, okay, I'm like this for all the reasons that have been there, but sometimes maybe it's important to understand them, sometimes we can't. But how do I want to be? I don't want to make conflicts here and there. I want to feel well. So this action, maybe it's better if I don't repeat it. I become careful. So this process of revisiting the actions without getting into a sense of guilt, but as an act of love towards ourselves, because we say, okay, I embrace myself. I don't go there and point the finger at me and put labels, okay, I'm this or that, I should, I shouldn't.
Io vado a riconoscere
I go and recognize, okay, this way of doing works and this other doesn't.
Devo stare attento a non
I
ripetere
should
questo,
be careful to not repeat this thing.
attento a ripetere quel modo di fare.
That other thing works, I should repeat it.
Nella teoria è logico.
In the theory, it's logical, isn't it?
Ovviamente tocca la pratica,
Then there is also practice, of course,
che è un po' più complessa.
which is a bit more complex.
Il dolore, quello che riguarda il dolore, molto spesso
About
una delle
pain,
cose che aiuta è vedere
something
che il
that
dolore
often
esiste una
helps
memoria emotiva.
is to see that with pain there is like an
La memoria,
emotional
il dolore va
memory,
sentito.
and we should feel the pain, we should listen to it.
Però quello che è interessante è che
What it's
il dolore,
interesting is
ci sono
that
diversi
pain,
tipi di dolore.
there are many
Ma molto
types of
spesso
pain,
il dolore
but very often
una delle
one
forze
of the
principali per le
main
quali non
forces
riusciamo a digerire,
for
a
why
elaborare
we are
quel
not able
dolore,
to digest, to
in qualche
elaborate
modo
that
anche
pain,
poterlo lasciare
and to
così,
also
decantare, no? Passare, perché non è che il
let
dolore
it
si ferma,
pass, because it's not that
no?
kind of
Viene,
pain
va vissuto,
just
poi
stops. No,
passa.
it just comes, it's
Però certe
lived,
volte noi non lo
and then it goes
permettiamo.
away. But
E
sometimes
una
we
delle
don't
ragioni per
allow
la
it.
quale noi
And
non
one
lo
of the reasons for
permettiamo
this
è che esiste
is
questa
that
strana
there
idea
is
che
this
se
strange
io
idea
non
that
sento
if
più
I
quel dolore,
don't feel that
vuol
pain
dire che io
anymore,
accetto
then it
ciò che è.
means that I accept what has happened.
Ma che scelte ho?
What other choices do I
Perché
have?
accettare ciò che è
Because
accaduto
to
e non sentire
accept
più dolore non vuol dire
what
che
has
io dico
happened and
che
not
dovrà
to feel any
sempre essere
pain
così.
it doesn't mean that I say that you should always be like that. I can say, okay, this happened this way, I'm sorry for it, and I will want it to not be like that. I make an example to something that really helped me. It was a time in my life where I went through a very difficult situation without getting into details now. Every time that I tell it, I say this. Sometime maybe I will get into the details, but I want to bore you. It's a situation that, in order to understand the big overview, it's like a really big story, and so I don't want to create more confusion in no one's head. But the point is that I found myself in a situation where from one day to the other, or like 1 month from to the other, different people that before were like friends that I knew, people with which I had like a good relationship, they weren't looking at me anymore. Like they became as they tried. Ignoring me, and they didn't dare to step in my house. It was like the house of the devil, and so it was really like a situation of discrimination, and it was a difficult time. And I remember one sentence that Lama Gangchen told me. He said, "Hey, you know, these people that are doing this, they are nothing else than like cows stolen by the thief."
Diciamo che tu hai delle mucche.
Let's say that you have some cows. At a certain point during the night, a thief comes and steals the cow. S can you blame the cow that went away?
La mucca è forte, volendo sta lì, eh?
Well, the cow is strong. If the cow wants, just stays there. But what happens is that the cow just follows. So someone came and and so these people are like the cows taken from thieves. They are doing these things, driven, manipulated by the information that they have received, by everything that has happened in some way that has conditioned them, because many across among this also didn't like how they behaved, but they felt kind of forced in their social context to behave in this way. And so, as I try to understand and to see their behavior in the context in which they found themselves, I try to understand their reality better and to make a distinction within myself. Was very important to say, okay, one thing is one thing and the other thing is the other. Like, I'm very grateful for what you have given to me, but I take distance because I don't want to live certain situations. And then there is also the pain that comes, because it's clear that when there is a friendship, when there is like distance and you live some difficult situations, very often there is like a sour taste. That pain needs to be seen. One of the things that are really beautiful is to be able to see that pain. I'm made a bit in my own way, and when I have these kind of situations that are very difficult, challenging, very often I live them as if nothing is happening. And then there is that moment where like a short collapse, where I feel that pain strongly, and then it goes away and I go on. It comes to my mind, like this last time that I was in Tibet, there was a moment for me that was very important, and I went in the bedroom, in the room of one of my masters that left the body many years ago. It was the abbot of the Shilompo in Tibet, from whom I received many beautiful teachings. And at the moment that he left the body, there was no way to approach him, and so it was something where I couldn't really leave the mourning. And so as I got into his room and I sat on his bed, and I smelled also the room where I received many teachings for years, I burst into tears and allow myself to live the moment and to really live it fully. Okay, it's the right context, it's the right moment, and I can embrace this emotion and I can be grateful for everything that he has said to me.
Quindi quello che voglio dire è che i dolori vanno accolti.
And
Certe volte non
what I
vanno
want to say, okay, is that you should welcome pain, and
però allo
sometimes
stesso tempo
to
più
weep
io
is not
rimango
enough.
attaccato a come le cose avrebbero dovuto essere, più
But
difficile.
the more I
L'esempio che ho
become
fatto
attached
prima,
to how
a
things should
causa
have
di
been, the
tutte
more
queste
difficult
situazioni
it's
che si
that.
sono create,
Because in the
io mi
example
ero
that I made
posto
before,
davanti a me un
because
obiettivo
of all
per la mia
the
vita, relativi ai miei studi,
um,
e ho dovuto da un giorno all'altro, tra virgolette, ma da un anno all'altro, più o meno, si è manifestato da un giorno all'altro, però è stato un processo più lungo, ho dovuto smettere. Quindi mi sono trovato davanti a qualcosa che per me era
so I found
molto
myself
importante, che mi
facing
piaceva,
something that I liked, and I had to quit from one day to the
io sono
other.
testardo, non
And I
volevo
am stubborn,
farlo,
and I didn't want to
eccetera,
do
eccetera,
that, and
eccetera.
so on.
Poi a un certo punto ho detto, ok,
Then
le
at a certain
condizioni non ci
point, I
sono.
said, okay, there are no more
Ho
the
messo la mia energia da
conditions,
un'altra
and I
parte.
put my
Ci è
energy
voluto
somewhere
tempo
else.
per elaborare
And
quel dolore,
it
non è
took
stata una
time to
cosa da un giorno
elaborate the
all'altro.
pain. It was like from one day to the other.
Okay? Ed è normale
And
ed è
it's
giusto che
normal, and
questo succeda.
it's right that this
Per
happens like
darle un
this.
esempio, ho avuto dei
And to give an
sogni
example, I
ricorrenti
had recurrent
dopo di
dreams
questo.
after that.
È stato un po' di tempo che non ci sono più.
It has been a
Però
while that they haven't
noi
been
non
there.
possiamo aspettare da noi stessi che le
But we can't
situazioni
expect
difficili che
from
viviamo,
ourselves
che i
that the
dolori,
difficult
le ferite
situations
che
that
si
we
vanno a
live and
creare
the
nella vita, che
pain,
è
that
normale nella vita di
all
chiunque,
the wounds that are
che non
created
ci siano o che possiamo
in
darle da un
life,
giorno all'altro.
we shouldn't pretend that they aren't there, and that we can heal from one day to the other.
Dolore di un genitore, magari di una madre di fronte a un figlio con cui non che lo perde, perché quello può esserci in un arco di tempo, il dolore poi può affievolirsi, comunque essere lavorato, ma quando si vive una situazione di forte dolore,
Sicuramente.
l'impossibilità di esprimere proprio amore materno, per esempio, perché hai un figlio particolarmente difficile, allora vedere
Sì,
la
sì, sì.
perfezione in questo, che sarebbe la salvezza, però è interessante come
È molto faticoso. Io ti dico, la situazione in cui io ho vissuto,
The
diversa,
situation in which I lived, which was different from
ci ho voluto
yours,
un po' di anni
it
per vedere
took
la perfezione in questo.
many years to see the perfection in that.
Però il giorno che sono
But the
riuscito,
day that
ha
I managed
pacificato.
to do
Ma
that,
sai, una delle cose
it
che di più mi ha
pacified so
aiutato
many things. One of the things that helped me the
è
most
stato ammettere la
was
mia
to
propria
admit
ignoranza
my own ignorance
e dire,
and to
io
say,
rimango male
I
perché io
I
dicevo, ma
feel
questo
bad
non può
because
essere così,
I
ma
say,
quella
okay, this
situazione non
shouldn't be like
poteva
that
essere così.
situation shouldn't be
Poi
like
se
that.
io vi racconto le cose,
And
poi
then if I go and tell
probabilmente la
you the things
maggioranza
that I
di voi
lived, probably
direte
the
sì, ma questo non doveva essere
majority of
così.
you would say, yes, but this shouldn't have been like that.
E quando io sono riuscito a guardarmi
And
e
so,
dire,
when I
sì,
was
ma chi
able to
sono io
finally
per dire
look
che non
and to
doveva
say,
essere così?
yes, but who am I to say that it shouldn't have been like that?
Nella mia visione
In my
idealizzata
own
sarebbe meglio se non
idealized
fosse
vision,
stato, sono
it was
d'accordo.
better. It would have
Poi nel
been
mio
better
caso
if
specifico,
it
quelle
wouldn't have been like
difficoltà
that.
che ho
But in that
vissuto
specific
mi hanno
case,
fatto parte di
the
modellare la
difficulties
mia
that I
persona,
lived
sono
made it
tante
so
cose che ho
that my
imparato oggi, a cui sono
personality got
profondamente grato, che
molded
sono
by
venute
that.
tramite
And
quel
there are
percorso.
some things that I know today
Il
that I
fatto
learned
mercoledì al
from that,
Kunpen è
and I'm
cominciato il
very
martedì
grateful for
di
that.
questo,
And also, the Wednesday at the
perché sono
Kunpen
venuto alle
partly
vedute
started
prima di quello che era in
from
programma, se no
that
sarei venuto una
because
quindicina
I
di minuti
came to
dopo.
live in
Poi
Italy
sono andato a studiare in
before
Tibet anche a causa di
of
questo, quello
what my
meraviglioso che ho vissuto,
original
passare
plans.
degli anni con la Gangchen meravigliosi
I
a
was
causa di
able to
questa cosa.
spend some
Quindi una
beautiful
delle
years
cose che
with
ho
Lama
imparato in questa
Gangchen because of
situazione è
this.
stata
So one of the
quando
things
noi
that I
ci
learned
mettiamo
from this
davanti
situation is that
una strada, un
when
obiettivo,
we
e a un
place
certo
a
punto ci
road,
troviamo un
an
muro,
objective in front of ourselves, and at a certain point we find a wall,
io quello che ho fatto è stato, guardo il
what I
muro,
did is to
posso
look at the
passarci
wall.
intorno,
Okay, can I walk
posso
around it?
scavalcarlo,
I can
e nel mio
climb
caso io
over
mi ero
it.
detto, no,
And
io
in my
voglio
case, no,
superare questo
I
muro,
really
non
want
mollo.
to really
Quella volta la
go
Gangchen mi
over
disse,
this wall. I am not giving up.
era molto preoccupato,
And
mi ero anche
a certain
ammalato
point, Lama
purtroppo,
Gangchen told
e
me
la
because he
Gangchen mi
was
disse,
very worried. And,
tu sei libero di fare come ti pare,
you are free to do whatever you
lo
want,
sappi,
but you should know that if you go on like this, then you will get sick. And to force the thing even more, then don't come to me to ask for help when you will have got sick. And so, what really gave me strength was to see the worry that was in him, because me being stubborn, I just wanted to proceed in a certain way. And so when I found myself in front of that really big wall, where I saw that, okay, try to climb over the wall. Yes, maybe I could have done it, but then probably I got hurt so badly and that I couldn't have been able to walk anymore. And so at that point I said, okay, the road that I imagined is not there anymore, but there are so many other roads. I have a life, I have strength, energy. Where do I want to put the energy that I can walk? It's useless, pointless to keep hitting the wall. Okay, that works, okay, let's just go there. And for me, it was good because I took some other way that was very beautiful with amazing things, but that wouldn't have gone in the same way if I hadn't taken those choices. And so in life, where when we find ourselves in situations that aren't how we first planned, also difficult situations, one of the things that make it even more difficult is when we stay in front of the wall and keep banging the head against the wall, even when there isn't much to do anyway. In that case, you just kind of turn, take some step backwards, you look at the wall, you rest a bit, and you say, okay, where can I go, what direction? Maybe one day I come back and there isn't the wall anymore, and then I can go on, but now there is the wall and I'm not able to go over it. One of the things that it's really helpful for us also to face the pain that we have is to not victimize ourselves, because to victimize ourselves is one of the things that then creates even more weight. But when I see the perfection, and the perfection that we talked about before, it's for me an act of profound humility, because to not allow oneself to see that perfection is an act of arrogance, where we have the pretense of knowing how things should be. I don't know if this is clear, if you agree. But for me, to see to a certain situation, to say this should be like this, it's really like such an arrogant thing. I know how things are. I don't know anything. Also, those things that I believe I know, often I'm wrong. And often also intended in the way, okay, this should be like this, that should be like that. Me, in these few years of life, I've seen so many things happening that I would have never imagined that could happen. In the context where I would less expect. And this brought me to a state of profound relaxation, which is also relaxing in the certainty of uncertainty. Because we look for certainty. We have this thing, okay, in order to sleep well, we need to have everything under control. Until, as long as everything seems to be under control, is fine, but the reality is who has everything under control. Many years ago, in the center in Abbagnano, we had to take some debts, not in different debts, that we still are paying, and there were some difficult times, but and speaking like this, someone says, how can you sleep? How can you not worry about these things. And there a thought came to me. Look, I'm doing the best that I can for this place, for this dream, to carry this center onward. If at a certain point we won't have the money to cover the expenses, then it means that the center has no sense to exist. I don't have attachment to the bricks.
Ma quello che voglio dire è che
But what I want to say is that the point is not to have those things, but to use them to transform ourselves. And if those things cannot be used for that function, then they are useless. And for me, that helped me a lot. So because yeah, then it's pointless to worry because I don't have the control over everything. And if things don't go in a certain way, then I did my part, and it means that we're on the conditions for that. And within that, alright, then it means that it doesn't mean that those are things that I like. No, often those are challenging things, but I repeat, the fact of accepting, and accepting doesn't mean to suffer, but to allow oneself to be at peace with the present and with the past. It's a difficult path, but it's important. If we want to be well, we must be able to accept. Without getting into a dynamic in which the Buddhism is often seen like to be passive in front of things. Accepting doesn't mean to be passive. Accepting means to not get into conflict with the past and the future, but to put oneself with determination towards the future that we want. I don't know. We can make 1,000 examples. I think about there was this time that really in Abbagnano I had to place mandalas, and I did the project, and you remember that it was for April that Trijja Rinpoche, this important master that came, and everything had to be finished, and so I did my whole project. Okay, how many days are necessary to clean, how many days for this and for that, and I organized everything. And within this was necessary some kind of tools to place the mandalas, and so I ordered these, and I ordered them like 1 month and a half in advance from a person that I trusted fully. Now the time came and I go pick up this kind of tools, and they were wrong. I'm sorry, the supplier is always right, but this time it was wrong. I'm sorry. Next week I can give them to you. The week after meant that we couldn't make it on time. Okay. Okay, the first thing that I said, okay, I think that these tools are not right, but at least I try. Okay, 2 of them were on 10, maybe 2 were right and 8 were wrong. And so I asked myself, okay, what do? I try to ask every supplier of those tools, and I called every agent in Italy, and everyone said, no, we don't have them, we can give them to you for next week. Then I said, okay, let's go and see where the factory is. And then it was like a Swiss company, and they said, okay, yes, we have this. I need 200 of this. Yes, we have them, but we only sell them to Swiss people. Okay, I have Swiss friends. I have some Swiss friends. That's not the problem. Okay, great. Okay, it was more or less 8 hours to drive there, and I took the car immediately, basically. and I got there at dawn,
Mi hanno visto e hanno detto cos'è questo? Mi hanno regalato i tasselli, non ho neanche dovuto pagare.
and they saw me and they just
Scatto di tasselli, sono
gave
tornato
them
al
to
tuo
me
corso,
for
sono
free,
arrivato dentro il mio primo programma.
and
Adesso
I
ce
ended
li
up
avevano tutti.
within my program, and I was very
E
happy
quello
with
che mi ha
that.
insegnato
And what
quell'esperienza
this experience
è che
taught me
prima
was
io
that,
perché dovevo prendere
okay,
il con
first,
Silvano, che era l'amico, che poi siamo diventati amici, che
why
era la
do I
persona che ha
need
fatto tanti lavori
to
bellissimi,
get
lui
mad
si è
with
affidato a un
Silvano?
altro che non li ha portato in tempi, non dovevo prendere. Io nella mia mentalità
In
non
in
avevo
my
tempo e
head,
energia
I
da
had
sprecare
no
a
time
radiarmi
and
con uno che non
energy
aveva intenzionato
to
altro.
get angry with someone
Il
or
mio
the
obiettivo
other.
era
My
mettere
goal
i mandala,
was
punto.
to put on the mandala.
E lo vado a fare, anche se
And I
non è
go and
libero
do
trovare a
that,
fare quelle
even
8
though
ore
it
col
wasn't in
figlio e quelle 2
program to do
notti,
those
eccetera,
8
eccetera.
hours drive and to not sleep.
Però c'ho davanti
But
quello che voglio fare,
I have in front of me
accetto
what
la
I
condizione
have to do
presente
and
e
accept
vado
the
avanti
present
verso quello che
condition,
tutto
and
vuole.
I go toward the goal that I have.
E quindi accettare per me,
And
questo è un
so,
esempio,
to
vuol dire
accept, for me,
io non
this is
devo
an
lottare
example.
contro quello che c'è stato, io
I
devo
shouldn't fight against what
camminare verso
it
quello
has
che voglio
been. I
che ci
should
sia.
walk towards what I want
Perché
there
avrei
to be.
potuto passare giorni
Because
litigandoli e
I
chiamando tutti i
could
giorni i
have
fornitori
spent
dicendo ma come
days
di qua di là. Avrei
quarreling with
potuto
the
trovare la migliore delle
suppliers
scuse
and to
per dire
find
non
the
sono
best of
riuscito a finire in tempo
excuses.
perché l'avevo
I
io quello
wasn't
lì che
able
non mi ha dato.
to finish in time.
Quindi su tante cose così. C'era un'altra situazione che mi ricorda molto.
And there was also another situation
Quando andavamo in
which made me
Indonesia,
reflect on
Borobudur,
this
quando ho
when
fatto il
we
treno.
used to go to Borobudur in
Però
Indonesia.
in quel contesto c'era questo
In that
albergo chiamato
context, there was
Manohara, che
this
andavamo con la Gangchen tutti gli
hotel,
anni in questo
Manohara,
pellegrinaggio in Indonesia, a Borobudur.
and we would do with
In
this
questo
pilgrimage with
albergo
Lama
loro avevano
Gangchen
una
in
caratteristica
Borobudur every year.
particolare,
And in this
che c'erano i
hotel, they had
cuochi che
like a
lavoravano lì
peculiar feature.
e negli orari che i
The
cuochi non
cooks,
c'erano, la cucina era aperta e chi cucinava, cucinava. Appunto, chi c'era, cucinava.
the cooks would work in
Quindi se
particular
andavi lì
times,
quando
but
c'era il
when
cuoco
they
non sapevi
wouldn't
mai
be
quando
there,
era e
then
chiedevi
the kitchen
le
would be
crepe.
open
Loro
and
facevano le crepe con la
then you would
banana, il
just
miele che mi
cook.
piacevano. C'erano le crepe e a
Maybe
tutti piacevano queste crepe. Però
they
succedeva
would
che
do
ogni
some
tanto
crepes with
chi
Nutella
c'era
and
quello che stava
banana.
mangiando la crepe, ah che buona, sì, buonissima. Arrivavi lì, chiedevi una crepe, arrivava una roba schifosa, che non c'entrava niente con quella di prima. Dici, ma come? Perché il cuoco non era lì. E quindi l'altro che passava faceva le crepe senza saperle fare. E quindi ogni volta che ordinavi la crepe non sapevi mai che cosa ti arrivava.
So the point is that every
Ed è
time that
quello
you would
appunto
order a
questa
crepe,
cosa
you
che
wouldn't
dobbiamo
know
accettare
what you
nella
would
propria
get
rete.
because whether it would be
Perché
like
le
one cook
alternative
or
che
the other.
c'erano lì erano
And so the
o
alternatives
facevi
were
non
whether,
mangi
okay,
niente, basta,
I'm not
o
eating it,
mangio quello che
or
c'è
I
o
eat
continuo
what
a
it's
ordinare
there, or I
finché mi
keep
arriva
on
quella
ordering
giusta,
crepes until I get the right
che
one,
non saprò mai
which
neanche
I will
quando
never
sarà.
know when that will be.
Ma sai quanta gente si arrabbiava,
You know,
rimaniva
many people
male,
get angry,
eccetera. Perciò
and so
nella vita ci sono
in
tante
life we
situazioni che
have
noi
many
viviamo
situations that we
e
live
viviamo con conflitto,
that we
che non
live
deve
with
essere
conflict
così,
because
non
it shouldn't
poteva
have been
essere
like
così.
that. It couldn't have been like that.
Io vivo tante
And I live
situazioni che
many
vedo intorno a
situations
me
that I see
che
around me
preferirei che fossero
that I
diverse.
would rather to be in a different way.
Quando guardo il mondo
When I
intorno a me,
look at the
in un
world
senso
around
ancora
me
più ampio,
in even a
aumentano in
broader
modo
way,
enorme queste cose.
these things
Noi stiamo vivendo un
increase in
momento
an enormous way.
particolarmente critico,
We live you are living a particularly
dove ci sono le
critical
problematiche
time
di
where
guerra,
we have like
che a me mi
war
preoccupano,
problems
nel senso
that
qualcosa di molto serio quello che sta accadendo,
what is
perché
happening is
avevamo
something
delle
very serious because
certezze che
we had
ora non
some
ci sono più,
certainty
no?
that are
Quando è
not there
cominciata
anymore.
la guerra in Ucraina, io mi
When
ricordo
the
la
war in
sensazione come c'è
Ukraine
stata
started, I
l'invasione della
remember
Crimea nel
the
2014.
feeling
E quello
of
che
the
ho
invasion of
sentito è
Crimea in
stato qua si è
2014,
rotto un paradigma.
and I felt like, okay, here a
Prima
paradigm got broken.
non era
Before it
accettabile, ma
was not
neanche
acceptable,
pensabile,
but not even
immaginabile che
like
un paese
thinkable
andasse
that
a
one
prendere un territorio di un
country
altro.
will go and take
Quello è avvenuto, tra virgolette, nessuno ha detto
the
niente,
territory of someone else.
si è aperta
That
una
happened,
porta.
and no one said anything basically, and so a
Poi,
door got
negli
opened.
ultimi anni, questi
And
ultimi
then
anni, in
in the
quest'ultimo anno in
last years and
particolare,
in
ci
the
sono tante
past
altre
year
cose
especially,
che
there are many other things
rotture che sono
like kind of
avvenute, che aprono a tante altre cose che non sono
breakings that open to many other things that are not beautiful.
non
Like
sono degli scherzi,
we
niente.
have
Abbiamo
environmental
una situazione a
challenges
livello
that are not jokes.
mondiale che
We have
sinceramente mi
a
preoccupa
world
di più,
situation that
mi fa pensare
sincerely
di più
makes
che
me think
la parte
even
della
more
guerra, che i problemi
rather than
ambientali
the
e
war
ancora
and
di
the
più che i
environmental
problemi
situation.
economici piuttosto che la situazione
that is the mental health situation on a worldwide scale. It's very serious things. And on this, and it's very challenging to look at this and to say the world is perfect. It's perfect in the sense that it's like that because we have done something stupid after the other and that got solved, and so yes, there are the results. But what I ask myself is, what does it mean to accept? It means that I see the things that according to me are not right, and then I ask myself, what can I do so that things tomorrow will be different? That to me means to accept, to put the energy to be part of the solution and not to be part of the problem. Because where there is a disease, then I need to heal the disease by bringing health and medicine, not by going against the sickness. Where there is darkness, I don't eliminate the darkness by going against it. I eliminate it by generating light. And so, where I see that there are things that I don't agree with, if I open this argument, I can assure you that we can stay days. And I can be very critical if I allow myself to. And I have my own ideas quite clear on many arguments, but the question that I ask myself is, that is like that for all the history. Make an example, the situation that we have in Brazil, from the point of view of the political, social, economical. There is a level of violence. There are no words to describe it. But when one sees them with some attention and you ask why, then there are 500 years of history to tell the why of that. And it's not as a way of saying. Brazil was one of the last to abolish slavery, and it did it in a tremendous way. And this is one of the causes that we still live today. But when we leave the problems that are present there, have they been created now, or have they been accumulated like centuries after centuries? Year after year, small action after small action that stay there but you don't face them, then they come to the surface sooner or later. And here I ask myself, where do I want to stand? I don't have the wisdom to say how things should be, but I have I don't even want to say ingenuity, but like the hope of how I want things to be. I have the self-esteem to say I can be part of the solution. And so we can put energy towards the solution, both in what has to do with ourselves, but also with the people around us and the society in a broader scale. Because when we see a war or something difficult like that, how many times have you felt like impotent, helpless?
Ma quante volte non ci siamo sentiti tanto quanto impotente, se non ancora di più, di fianco a una persona che vogliamo così bene.
How many other times have we also felt that we can't help the person that is next to us and lives with us, but that is feeling bad, but we can't find a way to help that person? Does it happen or not? For many years, I tried to change the other. On some specific cases, I gave everything to change that person. I really did everything that I could to make those people feel right. It was a total failure. But it wasn't like a failure because I did things in a wrong way. No, it was because by using like an example that it's not really right in this context, in Tibetan, it is said, doesn't matter how much you squeeze the sand, you can't get oil out of it. That is to say, I don't have the capacity to do that because the other person is living a certain cycle, a certain path, and if the other person doesn't allow himself or herself to take the right choices, then he or she won't be able to end it. And so to also accept the other also means to take away that sense of helplessness that blocks me. And when I see the other and I say, okay, you're like that because of all the causes and conditions, and my very little that I can do, what can I do for you? In my relationship with you, I want to be part of those relationships that go and nourish those trauma that make you feel even worse, or do I want to be like a sane part of your life? This is a choice that we can do. And so that sense of being helpless, often with acceptance, we can get over it. And it's clear that this acceptance cannot stay on a conceptual level. The way to do this is to start from small things. Jokes aside, you start by accepting your own pancake. You start by accepting the traffic. You start by accepting those things, like it's winter, then it's cold.
Si cominciano accettando le piccole cose quotidiane.
You start by accepting small daily things, and then you start also by talking to yourself in a different way. Because also the words that we use, dialogue that we have with ourselves, they have a huge power to determine our own thoughts, feelings, and our own vision of ourselves and the world. So, one thing, not saying anymore if. Let's try to remove. I already did that like from 99%. Let's try to remove from our vocabulary the word if in a condition to the past. Because in the yesterday there is no if. You know, but 5 years ago this happened, but if. There is no if. How can I say it? It happened what it happened. Because let's remember that after the if, whatever, anything can come after that. Because when you come to me and say, yes, this has happened, but if the other person, or if that went in another way, then it would have been different. Yes, obviously. But after the if, how many things can we put? Infinite. There is a story that I told many times that when I understood that for me, in Brazil we say when the coin falls.
Ogni tanto mi sento un po' vecchio, no? Però diciamo che più o meno la maggioranza di noi abbiamo usato già i telefoni a gettoni. Mi ricordo anche qua in Italia c'è stato un periodo che qua al Kunpen, nell'angolo lì c'era un telefono a gettoni, mi ricordo per un periodo.
Like with the coin telephone, I remember putting on the coin, and sometimes you will put like one coin after the other, and still it wouldn't work. There would be no signal. And then there is sometimes that we understand something, but maybe. And for me, for that if, I need to thank my sister, because we were in Brazil and we had to do a back sign. And then we get out of home, and she asked me, do you want to go by metro or by car? And I say, okay, let's go by car. I don't know how many of you know São Paulo. There is like terrible traffic. A road that without traffic would be like 10, 15 minutes. With traffic it's like more than 1 hour. Getting there like 45 minutes to park, 10 minutes to the vaccine, and then 1 other hour to get back home. And as getting back home, my sister, which was disappointed by the traffic, she said, okay, look, if we had gone by metro, then we would already be home and we would be watching a movie. But yes, that's true, but imagine if we had gone by metro and you had fallen and broke your arm, and or if we went by metro and someone stole my bag, then we would be at the police. After the if, we can put anything. And after that time, I understood this thing, and gradually I tried with a certain success to remove the if from my vocabulary. Try for at least 1 week to not do it. You speak about something that happened. That happened. That's a fact. I can go and see it in a different way. And this already helps us to see the perfection of the word. When we talk about a child, but if I hadn't done this, or if the school had been different, or if this didn't happen, or this and that, we can't know. So sometimes when someone says, look, Lama, if I place my son in a different school, or if he ate differently, then it would have been better. Yes, maybe so. And I also have another friend, and she said, okay, look, my son, I sent him to the best school, and he was eating vegetarian, and he couldn't have ended up worse than that. To say, she had to call the police more than once to protect herself from the son. I theoretically did everything that was possible, but if I did differently, would have been better? I don't know. Actually, we don't know. That's the truth. So when we remove the if, I fight less with the past. That already helps. And together with the if, we also have to remove another part of the vocabulary. That is when we say, this you have said. We also need to remove this. We shouldn't say, you have said. You say, I have understood, because what you have said, I don't know. And even more than that, what you intended to say. What I can tell you is what I remember that I understood in that moment. Is that so? And even when a person comes and say, oh no, because you have said that. Look, I don't remember saying that. I don't say that it's not true. No, memory is also tricky sometimes. But also when we remove, okay, the if, and you have said, you know how many problems we take away, how many conflicts. And the other thing is to not even say, this is like that. But to say, to me, it seems like that. My feeling is this. Then I say it in this way. That doesn't mean that it's like that. Because it's a subjective reality. But if we gradually go and play with our own way of speaking, but mostly to our own way to dialogue with ourselves, and that we see that the use of the word directs the thoughts, we can much more easily than we think kind of redirect our thinking, and that makes a huge difference. One classical example that is given in neurolinguistic is when it said, like this moment I see it's 1952, and I say only 8 minutes are left. If I tell myself there are only 8 minutes, what is the message that I'm giving to myself? There is a threat, there is a problem. Maybe I can do it, maybe I can't. There are only 8 minutes and I still have to start what I wanted to say. It's not the case of today, but other times it has happened. but if I say, there are still 8 minutes, or 7, there are still 7 minutes between. There are still and only that the minutes are the same, but the first thing that happens is that when I say only, I see those minutes as a threat because because maybe I ask myself, okay, can I do it or not? And the stress increases and cortisol increases because I find myself in front of a threat. If I say still, then it's something in my favor, and this changes completely my way of relating to that. It's like when someone goes on vacation. There are 5 days of vacation. You get like to the 4th day, there is still one day, how beautiful. Oh no, or other people maybe leave it like, oh, there is only one day, and then you leave that day awfully. It seems like a joke, but the way that how we speak to ourselves, because we think with thoughts, with words. Because as we go and learn new concepts, as we say today, things are perfect. Do not put ourselves in opposition to the present and to direct ourselves to the future. As we learn different concepts that to ourselves look right, because the last thing that I want here to impose something to anyone. I share with you what seems coherent to me, but then you do as you prefer. But when you say, okay, this seems coherent, this seems right, then one of the best ways to implement that in our lives are the words that we use. It's how we speak with the others and to ourselves. And so here comes the importance of saying thanks, to say gentle words, the importance of saying kind words. In Brazil, the extreme is like, how are you? Everything optimal. Then if you leave some seconds of silence and you breathe and you ask again, then all the problems come out. So it's not true that everything is alright. There are also people where you will ask, how are you? And then they will come with all the complaints. And then I learned a new technique. Is everything going wrong? And then they say, no, it's not everything wrong.
Ogni tanto un po' per scherzo, ogni tanto anche effettivamente.
In Brazil, okay, we have this thing, everything is alright, and then you have the problems. In Italy, I saw many times, like, the attitude that it's a bit dangerous to say that everything is alright. I survive, so and so, it could go worse. Isn't that true? But the words that we use go and determine how we live. So how do you feel? No, I feel well, then we also have problems, but yeah. But to be able to say, yes, it's alright. Now, this takes us to another argument, and I still have 3 minutes, and we can say a lot. That together with the fact of admitting openly the mistakes and to look back at what we've done and to redirect ourselves, there is a fundamental part, very important, to celebrate the beautiful things. I took the turn in the right way. Because as a situation ends, the last thing is what stays in the memory. And so if I go and say, okay, that went well, and I celebrate and rejoice for that, I eat something nice, whatever, I do whatever to celebrate that nice thing that was there, that memory stays. Because what happens is that if we don't celebrate the good things, one of the dangers is that in the difficult times, it seems that the good things were never there, which is not true. But actually, it's important to celebrate the small and great victories that we have every day. How beautiful today I was able to be more patient than I am. Usually, also just the fact of saying that is something. You don't need like an excuse to make a party every day, but like to say oneself how beautiful, and also to nourish one's self-esteem and to rejoice for beautiful things, for things done nicely. It's important to rejoice of that. And these are the two things that go together. So to admit openly our own mistakes and to redirect ourselves and to celebrate the good things and also to redirect them in order that they keep on being there. And all of this with an attitude of love towards ourselves. Because let's remember that at the end it's very romantic, not in a good sense of the word romantic. The idea of wanting to help the others without first having welcomed ourselves. It's great to want to help the others, it's beautiful, but to do that in a profound way, we also need to embrace ourselves. And this often is more challenging, but it's possible and also necessary. And so we need to see the beauty that it's in us and the perfection that it's in life. We try to slowly generate this attitude of not putting ourselves in opposition to the present and the past. Let's remove the if from the vocabulary. You have said this should have been like that, this should be like this, or this is like that. I understood that like this. It seems like this. I live this in this way. As I said many times, other times, sometimes I go to extremes. So when someone says, Lama, will you be here in Milan next week? Next week I will be here on Monday. And someone says, will you be there next Monday? My answer is, by principle, yes. So it's not coming. Yes, it's in program, it's in schedule, everything. But I'm not ever 100% sure. An infinity of things can happen. So to not put myself in the attitude of having the certainty of how things will be, I tell myself I don't have the total certainty. I'm programming myself and I will do everything possible to be here, but I don't have the total certainty. Even if you ask me, are you going back home today? Yes, by principle, yes. But jokes aside, let's be careful, watchful on the way that we speak with ourselves. And the beautiful thing is that we can do a lot. So often we complain about the sense of guilt, but often it's easier actually to face than it seems. We just need to change the dynamic. Let's now do the dedications, and as I said before, next week I will be here on Monday at 18.
Lo san tempe drume sasumgi druwe munsel taktu ne gyurchi kewa kuntu yanda lama dan drame chiki pela longchechi sadan lamge yun Dorje change kopa nyurtoba sho nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delek shin ninsen takto delekpe kuncho sumki jingi lobo kuncho sumki ngodrubtsol kuncho sumki trashisho.
At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.
Grazie a tutti.
Thank you, everyone.
Una piccola richiesta pratica.
One small practical
Come vi
request.
sarete accorti c'è un principio di raffreddore che
I
sta
have a start of
cercando
flu. I
di
don't know
non
if you have
permettermi
noticed.
di
I'm trying to
prenderla
not
con tutta forza. Perciò
become
prima di
like
tutto
full
volevo
force.
venire a salutare
So
tutti
we
i
wants to
benvenuti,
come
sappiate che
and say hi.
il principio di
It's welcome,
raffreddore c'è.
but you should know that
Ok?
there is a start of
Questa è
flu.
una cosa e l'altra
And
cosa
this is one thing, and
per
the other
solo
is that
domande,
if
cose
there
un
are
po' più lunghe,
questions,
lasciamo per
longer
settimana
things,
prossima,
let's leave them
perché
for
così almeno
next week. So
cerco di
I
prendere
tried
aspirina
to
prima e vado a
take
letto prima.
aspirin before, and okay.